everybody, it's Rhiannon with Boating Insider. Really excited to be here today. We are in Portland, Oregon. We are at the PVA conference for Mirror Trends 2024. And we have the unique opportunity to reconnect with our PCVA family. I'm down here just talking about some of the issues that are up and coming through Transport Canada, through the U.S. Coast Guard, utilizing resources to go digital, how it can help you with safety management, how it can help you with increasing your compliance and mitigating risk. Lots of really good conversations. So I have Captain Kurt Huck, who flew in today. Really excited that he's able to be with me in person. Finally put a face with a phone voice and an email. And I also have Captain Stephen Steels, who has been a longtime customer of the vessel Vanguard and Wheelhouse family. He's also newly joined the PCVA board, and we're going to jump into all fun things going on in the world with regulations in the maritime industry. So thank you, gentlemen, for joining us.
Thank you.
You're very much welcome.
All right, so if you want to give a quick overview of you two, we'll start with you, Captain Stephen Steels. What is your role outside of the PCVA, and also joining the board and what that journey has been like?
So Senior Master with Kingston Island Boat Line, been operating on the St. Lawrence River and Lake Ontario and the Great Lakes for the last 40 years. The wide variety of different type of vessels, but majority of my career has been spent on the small passenger vessel industry here in Canada, and supporting and teaching new recruits in this industry.
And when did you join the board for the PCVA? Wasn't that somewhat recently?
This was recently, yeah. So the Passenger Commercial Vessel Association, our company has been a member of for a large number of years. But this year, I've stepped up and offered to share some of my experience and knowledge with the Passenger Commercial Vessel Association and help them continue growing to support the other partners within this industry.
Well, I know Captain Kurt Huck's very happy to have you. We were talking a little bit about your experience and what a powerful impact you have in general, but now really being able to play a role with the rest of the team, I think is really incredible. So, and then Captain Kurt, if you want to give your bio, your background.
Sure. Yeah, Captain Kurt. I've been sailing for over 30 years. Same body of water as Captain Steels in the Thousand Islands. Grew up driving a boat since I was probably 2 or 3 years old, and my family's always been in the marine industry with marinas in the Thousand Islands. And then through to the Canadian Coast Guard, had my own operation. Reached just up till during COVID. We closed just post-COVID. But they gave me the opportunity, and during that time I was on the board of the PCVA, but then in 2021 was hired on as executive director. So we, as board members, we're volunteers, so there's limited time to contribute, and there was no growth going on in the association. So the board decided, without me, I sort of stepped aside, and the rest of the board decided that it would be key to hire on someone full-time as executive director. So I was offered the role, and for the last 2 years I've been doing that and sort of building the foundation of the association, the who's, why's, what's, what we're there for, and then trying to build on that. And we've actually grown the membership almost, hopefully by this coming sailing season in the summer, we'll have doubled the association members.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Since taking over. Yeah.
Well, and I think it's important to know kind of how us three got together. And there's a lot of kind of a passion project between each one of us. So my history being down here in Southwest Florida, growing up on the waters down here, grew up fishing with my grandpa. My dad was a service manager for Sea Ray Boats for 30 plus years, and just running around the boatyard and experiencing his long days, his manual processes. Him turning wrenches is really where some of his skill sets come in. Filing paperwork was just a part of the job. And seeing technology hit him in his career, I came home from college and was crisscrossed applesauce on his office floor, and they had brought all the computers in and said, you need to start using this. And he was really frustrated. He was, irritated, and he said, I need some help with this because I'm not sure exactly what to do. So, it started just my awareness there. I jumped over into the powerboat racing team. We also worked with Mercury engines for a while. As I worked hand in hand with our technicians, through the entire process, whether we're servicing engines or ordering parts, and everything was very, very manual. Jumping into the aviation sector for a while and seeing the regulations that have already gone through and working in that space to support all my technicians on the aviation world go digital. And they were already over the hump, right? The regulations were already pushed through, the advisory circulars were already released. It was being more embraced, and so working from that side of it. Once that passion project was done, seeing the impact and going back into the marine industry and realizing, oh, it's coming, it's here. So we've got the conversation happening from Transport Canada, who's actually more aggressive, and I think they're ahead of the curve with some of the regulations being mandated. U.S. Coast Guard, it's picking up its pace and seeing that, okay, this is where aviation was, 10 years ago, and people are looking for resources. They need help. These are our mom and pop businesses. These are our tourism businesses. These are really important businesses to all these individual regions. And so jumping into it from a software side of it, where I'm providing a resource, I'm providing a product, connecting with you and saying, okay, so what is the PCVA? I mean, this was back in September, October, because Captain Stephen, you introduced me to it and said, you really should look at this. This would give you a place to have a voice. You could tap into what the conversations are, what are the concerns, what are people really wanting to know about? And so you really, you brought all of us together in that we all have this certain passion between our knowledges, our experience, and now coming together. It's like, all right, so what can we do? So we met in November at your event. I attended virtually, speaking on how to increase compliance and safety with going digital. And I was able to speak on the similar concept here at the PVA. And it's been universal, a lot of the response. Everybody seems to know this is coming. They are not really sure what the first step or the next step is going to be, and how serious do they need to take it. So I think one of the key moments for me was your regulations went in place December 31st of 2023, I believe.
They're still, no, they're not, they're supposed to, but they're still not official, but they'll,
Okay.
It's just technical delays on the regulation, but they're coming very shortly.
Okay. So I think, Captain Stephen, if you don't mind kind of sharing, for you to have, you and I've worked together in, a vendor to customer relationship for over 10 years, having the wheelhouse support before it was Vessel Vanguard 360. That's ahead of the curve, right? So you put a lot of structure in place. So can you kind of walk through that and why you did it and what are some of the things you use us for?
Yeah, we were searching for a long time to find a software system that would help us track our maintenance, because we are a seasonal operation here in this part of the world. Keeping track and not only just seasonal operation, we also have we're also training and moving Marine officers through the system onto other more full-time year-round careers. Keeping track of our maintenance and keeping track of our regulatory maintenance requirements was always difficult to do because we had so many people moving through the vessels each and every day. So I was constantly looking, how do we best track and make sure we are following up on our safety requirements for the vessels. And we started with other software programs that were a lot more cumbersome to use. And I met Ian, I believe it was Ian, when wheelhouse maintenance first came about. And the unique part of it was an easy operating system. It helped. It could be used as a platform on cell phones. It was vessel specific as well as company specific. We were able to use it for facilities as well as it wasn't geared towards so much towards our trolley system, but we tried to implement parts of it into our trolley system, which is our road buses. What I like about Vessel Vanguard and what I like about the whole software system is that it's very user friendly and very easy to use, and as I mentioned, very vessel specific. So our last dry dock with the Island Queen 3, A part of the 5-year inspection is also the mechanical. What did you do, or what have you done to these generators, these engines since the last dry dock? And with the flick of a couple of buttons, I can get the history of each asset and print it out and hand it to them. I don't have to search through miles of paperwork to find it.
Yeah. I think, aside from obviously like just vessel Vanguard and knowing that we provide you, but I think pulling the conversation back just another notch of the concept of going digital, right? Maybe not, specific to, because there's resources, but what are some of the concerns that you all are seeing out there? Some of the things people are, afraid of, or they're hesitant to lean into. Because our conversation was in November, and there was quite a few people that I touched base with, and it was the general consensus was, we know this is coming. We're going to start to do some of our research, and then, it's the holidays and it's the winter, so we'll pick it back up when season starts. So what do you, like, and I guess I'll take it another direction saying, I know one of the things that I really loved about connecting with you, Captain Kurt, was you got very, very passionate about these resources are here. We want to help these operators. We want to make sure the association knows of whatever tools they need. So kind of, if you guys want to kind of talk about what that means and why are you so passionate about it?
Well, it's at the end of the day, it all leads down to safety. Whether it's a proper engine maintenance, whether it's proper life-saving equipment maintenance, whether it's proper training of deck crew or officers, whatever it may be that we do in our industry, it all comes down to safety. Safety number one for the owner operator of the vessel. You don't want to have an accident, and then number two for Transport Canada. Their role is to make sure our operations are safe for the Canadian public and the visiting public from the tourists from around the world. So it's just all comes back to safety. We want to make sure and papers, it had its place, and I understand the sometimes the frustration of change, or the fear of change. Well, I'm doing it this way for so many years. Well, we've done it that way for so many years because the technology hasn't been there. Yeah. Now technology is there. So whether it's just starting out, moving from a piece of paper and a pen to a laptop with a Word document, an Excel document, at least you have that digitized somewhere that can be pulled out. If Transport Canada comes in and asks you for a piece of paper document and you can't find it, which happens, we're documenting paper, we've got tons of paper, we've got libraries of paper. If you can't find that document, well, now you risk having a deficiency, you risk having the confidence in your operation from Transport Canada because you couldn't find the document you're looking for. If it's digitized, it's a easy query on your computer or Excel or whatever it may be to pull that document up. So that's just the first step. So there's tons of software out there that are much better, like Vessel Vanguard, that has the whole encompassing information for all that areas we do. But just that first step is the hardest point and the worry for everybody. I think it's just take that first step, get in. We're in those people that are in that state. Do you have a cell phone?
Right.
Because it's not the same cell phone that we opened up with a battery and 25 years ago.
So Captain Steele, you'll get a kick out of this. We were talking a little bit earlier when Captain Kurt first arrived, and we reflected on how quickly technology has advanced, and that I remember when I was going to college, I borrowed my dad's cell phone, and it was this big, and it had the great big antenna, and you push the buttons really hard to be able to get, to just to make a phone call. There wasn't anything else that you did but use it for a phone call. So, that's in a very short amount of time, technology has grown very, very, very quickly. So I think mitigating risk, right? So you say it all comes back down to safety. And what are some of the other risks that are perceived with embracing some of this change?
Yeah, it's. I don't think embracing the change is. I think most operators have embraced the change. It's just finding the right platform at the right cost. Obviously, is paramount for operators. It's next to impossible to have every documentation on paper in a filing system on a particular vessel. Everything from the safety equipment, to the stability books, to the life-saving plans, to the ship's lines plans, to winterizing procedures. It's next to impossible to have that all in cataloged on a particular vessel. And with the software system and digitizing it, allows you to pull it up at a moment's notice on the phone. I can go to the Island Queen's homepage and pull up the stability book, the Transport Canada stamped stability book, and have access to that on my phone. I can pull up the winterizing procedures. I mean, if you're chancing falling behind if you're not digitizing in today's world and getting this stuff onto
another platform. Well, and
I mean, it's just
continuing on what you said, Stephen, all that information that you have that you can pull up, it's securing that information. If you have a catastrophic loss of your office or your wheelhouse, whatever, with all the paperwork, that's how many copies do you have? I mean, you're lucky if you have 2 copies. So if you lose those copies, then you're starting from zero. So you're securing that information by digitizing it, allowing it to be kept in multiple places and securing it on the web or on a server, wherever it may be. So that proprietary knowledge that you've created is secured, but also if you're passing it on to someone else, that if you've got like you say, we train numerous people every year coming into the industry, and if we have it digitized, something can happen to you or I in key principles of the operation. Something catastrophic happens to that person, and if that proprietary information is kept only with them, then the operation is done. I mean, it stalls. This way here, it might slow down. There might be a slow period for that new person to come in and get up to speed, but at least there's that information there for them to look at and read, so they're not starting from zero.
Well, and I think that's a good point. We had talked about this a couple of days ago. Was there's layers to the just going digital, right? Because it's not just, oh, that means that you're using paper and now you're going to use a computer. There's so many other definitions of it, and going digital of, well, maybe you have them in a resource on a computer used by an employee who maybe works from home. I see a lot of that right now, where this person has access to these records on their computer and they work from home most days of the week. It's like, well, what if something happens, right? Whether maybe it's not secure, maybe there's no protocols in place where if that computer dies, or a virus, or they become a disgruntled employee, or, it's just that risk right there is, what if that data is gone? Now what? How do you financially reproduce that? I mean, it becomes very difficult. I've seen it where I've seen a lot of the disgruntled employee side of it. I had a gentleman reference, he has 2 vessels up in Alaska, and he said he's taken this project over, and the previous person in the role was unhappy and destroyed the records that they did have. And so he's trying to go back and reproduce that. And I mean, unless you have some magical powers, that's a rather difficult, daunting task to accomplish. So you've got that side of it, of not only is going digital, but it's educating yourself and I think your teams on what does that mean? What is one vendor versus another vendor, or where do you start? Are you just starting in the maintenance department, or are you looking at the company as a whole to support the accounting side of it, the sales side of it, the communication side of it? I will tell you that more often than not, the feedback that I get is, we've kind of done it this way. We didn't really have money set aside for this type of a resource, and it's not astronomical. Or, listen, we're kind of old school. I heard that quite a bit. We're kind of an old school organization. I know Tommy, and Tommy's worked with us for 30 plus years. And, we just kind of do it the way that we've always done it. That is more often than not the initial response that I get. And that's what I'm trying to get into, is like, where is that coming from? Is that just fear? Is it, it feels daunting. It feels like a big task, right? Like, what does that mean? I have to go dig through all the paper.
It's comfort.
Yeah, that human.
It's a bit of it. A bit of it is comfort. Also, they talk. You hit it. You use that. You hit the phrase that's been used so much over my 40 years of career in here. Is that's the way we always did it, and this is what we always tell them. But unless you have something to prove, this is the way you always did it, and this is what you always told, unless you have it documented and it's it's something that you pull out. I mean, there's a certain thing, for many years we said, okay, this is how we train our crew on our, I'm just, as I'm doing this call with you, I'm sitting here looking at my training week that starts on April 29th and finalizing our fire training center for May 2nd. And I can tell that that's what I do, but unless it's documented somewhere, unless it's written down and put in some form, then it doesn't really, there's no proof that it happens. And having it digitized, there's documents that are living that number of different people working on at the same time. But if you have it digitized in one place, this is where the final document lives, and your staff knows that it lives here. My engine room procedures on the Let the Bateau Mouche 2 for startup procedures, the final document lives on this software system, and you can find it at this location. Then that's where the final document lives. And having it digitized makes that so much easier to do. That you don't have, you don't have seven different copies out there of the same thing. That there's one spot where the last final document lives.
Well, and the other part of it is like what you're doing, Captain. But then you and I talked a while ago about some of the upcoming, professionals in the industry, and that they'll go to you quite a bit. I mean, I think that's one of our first conversations of just your vast knowledge, your life legacy of being in this industry, and understanding it from so many different angles and levels, but that you're a resource for the up and coming and passing on the love of what this industry is capable of. But this generation coming through, they expect it to be a certain way. They do everything. I do everything from my phone, so say they, but it's all of us, that's life now. So I think the other part of it is there's so many shortages across the trades industries. And if you're looking to be attractive to pull in, these potential, future generations, you have to be up with the times and meet them where they are so that they can do the very best at their job. Are you all seeing any of that?
Oh, definitely. I mean, the new recruits that we're bringing in, whether it's on the deck level, on the engineer level, or mates like in the wheelhouse, it's all. They're coming in with a sort of a preset skill set of technology, and if you tell them, okay, I want you to do this task, and okay, how do I follow up with it? Well, we'll take the pen and paper and document it. And they haven't used a pen and paper. They went to school with laptops.
Yeah.
So their handwriting isn't, they don't, like, that's going to take me forever. Why can't I just put it on a Word document or whatever?
Yep.
So it's attracting, like you say, attracting those new recruits to work in our industry, but also you're attracting, if you're looking at maybe selling your operation to one of those new millennials that are coming in, and they start, maybe they've worked for you for a few years and you're looking to retire and sell the operation, and they're interested in taking it over. If they don't have any history digitized, and they don't know, they're walking into something, it's a bigger risk for them.
Yeah.
If someone walks in and to an operation that has everything digitized, there's more of a security blanket there for them. Here's how you do an oil change. And we're talking about digitization by putting words on paper, but I know Captain Steels has done it for years now, taking photos. So as you're doing a safety plan, for example, of the engine room, you're taking photos of the safety equipment and where it is located, and then take that to another level of videos.
Yep.
How do you do an oil change on this engine? Well, someone's walking through the steps and you're actually doing a video of it. So someone can walk in to that operation not knowing anything about the operation and take over. And so it allows you to recruit people easier in the new generation, but also allowed us to sell your operation if you're looking at doing that easier.
What do you all anticipate? Because I know that you're doing a lot to support your members and the organization as a whole going into this year, because you anticipate there being a need. And so, what are some of the ways that you all are there providing resources to your members of how to get through this next regulation hump that's coming?
Well, that's at our conference in November. We try to, and that's one of the reasons I'm here in Portland, is to meet some of the other suppliers we have here, whether it's engine suppliers, software suppliers, ticketing suppliers, to bring those options to our members, to grow our supplier list as well for them, to show them the technology out there, to make it easier for them so they don't have to. Here's our supplier list that we have as part of the PCVA family, so that they can get educated on it, and taking the information and regulations from Transport Canada and letting them know sort of ahead of time if we could. Like we were a little ahead on the SMS. I know Stephen and I have been working for about a year on the SMS with Transport Canada to get the basic information. It's not going to be due to be implemented. The regulation will be implemented, the law, but then to be compliant with that, there'd be a 12-month grace period.
So like they're phase in, right?
So we've gone ahead and taken the initiative to try to get that information out to our members. Don't wait for the 12 months. Get it done now.
Yeah.
Get ahead of time. So that's what we're trying to do for members of the association, to gather that information, make it easier for them. Because I mean, Stephen knows, and I know, running an operation, it's the easier things can be for you, the better, and then we can focus on other parts of our business. So that's what we're trying to do from the association's point of view.
Well, the other thing, I mean, 12 months is not a long time.
No.
It really isn't. And
Not
I think,
when 6 months that you're running a boat. in
right?
Canada, yeah.
And I mean, that's your full time, that is what you do, and it's a lot of work. So when I think about like, it takes time to implement a new system, because you've got this human factor where you get a little bit of that resistance. Everybody's really, really busy, and you're bringing in a new way of doing things. And so that's one of the, the pieces that I'm constantly educating on, is it's going to take a little bit of time, and everybody needs to communicate. There's, the communication part of it. Hey, this is what we're doing. We've made the decision, and now execute and understand what that's going to mean. Is this a 3-month project where you're just going to roll it out to your vessels? Is this a 8-month project where now we're going to include multiple different departments, and really, sitting down and having that conversation? I think that's a gap that I see where, hey, we've got resources over here, but what does that physically mean? Like, I'm going to stand up from here, and now I want to, what do I do now? And I think that you all are doing a great job of saying, come to us. Come to us. We will help you in any way, shape, and way that we can. And that was one of the things that you really were like, I just want to make sure that our association members have everything they need to meet the requirements that are coming.
One of the blessed things that we have in our part of the world, in our industry, is that we do have a downtime when the vessels aren't running. In our industry, in the passenger vessel sheltered water industry, so that downtime allows us to spend some time getting things ready for the upcoming seasons. So we give our membership. It's nice to have that our meeting in November. We can give them some information on what they need to look at, and it gives them time in November, December, and January to start thinking about it and putting things together for the upcoming operating season, if it's the one that's coming up right away. So
I think that's
implementing
important.
a safety management. Go ahead.
I was going to say, you brought that up earlier. I think it's important to embrace this downtime, right? Not hey, we're in this down part. We'll kick this back up when we start up and running. But I mean, what's one of the first things that happens when the season starts? You have the authorities showing up to make sure that everything is tracking as it should.
That's exactly it.
I mean, we have our. That's exactly it. We mean our sailing season doesn't start until probably. I mean, our main sailing season starts Mother's Day weekend, but we're a month ahead of that. We're fitting the boats out, getting them ready for the inspections. A digital software system tracking, what needs to be done and what you have done goes a long way to helping that you're organizing for that first annual inspection. Embracing the downtime to have your safety management system, start writing it, documenting the 12 points that are needed for your safety management system, and then once you've documented that, you still have to teach it. You still have to show your staff and your crew members. You still have that training part of it too. So you can't wait until the sailing season to start all this stuff, because in the sailing season, most of your staff are out working every day on the water, 7 days a week, 12 for 13 hours a day. So it's kind of hard to do that training. You need to embrace the off season for some of these projects.
Well, and it's perfect timing too, because when the operators are in full, from May till mid-September, October, when they're in full operations and they don't have time to do anything or train or whatever it may be, well, the association's working on what next year looks like. So my downtime with, it's a busy time, but my downtime for dealing with members is their sailing season. Because unless there's an incident or something urgent that they needed to speak with me on, it's a quiet period of time. So that's when we started working with Transport Canada on the SMS regulations, the new marine personnel regulations, trying to gather this information so that they, when they were finished their season in October, join the conference in November, here's all the stuff that's coming up for next year.
Here's what we've been talking about.
And then use, like Captain Stephen Steele just said, use November, December, January, February, whatever it may be, to take that information, how it affects your business, and get it implemented for that next sailing season. Because as soon as March or April hits and you start painting and cleaning and training, you don't have time. So it's a perfect, that's what we do at the association, is gather that information to educate you in the fall.
This
so
is
you're
what's
ready to
happened
go.
while everybody was in season.
Exactly.
This is the new changes, absorb them and implement as needed. So let me ask you this. What the SMS, that's the regulation that's coming from Transport Canada, is that being designed by Transport Canada and saying this is based on your organization size, your vessel size, this is your requirements, or is it saying show us how you meet safety?
It's an IMO. Safety management systems has been there for decades. It's sort of coming into force. They tried to bring it over a decade ago, and it wasn't. It didn't. It was taking a circle and trying to put it in a square hole kind of thing. It didn't really work for all the sectors. So because of this, there was so much in it that had to meet international standards, where small domestic fleet doesn't.
Right.
So they've now changed that and they put it into different tiers. So what they've done is the regulations, that the information you have to have is still from the IMO, but basically they're giving it into tiers. So X size of vessel, you have to do this. That's tier 1, tier 2. So as you go down, I believe there's, off the top of my head, I think there's 5 tiers. And as you get to the 5th tier, it's a smaller vessel. So there's less onerous regulations. Your SMS isn't going to be as in depth as tier 1 or tier 2. So but they don't tell you how to do it. So they give you, this is what we need.
No.
And so what we've gone out and done and worked with companies like yourself and a couple other members we have to bring in some people that can help them build their SMS. So step one is you need this. We're telling you early, you have time to do it. And for those of you that don't have it or don't know where to start, here's some suppliers that can help you do this. So it's marrying the two together.
So one of the things I think is really helpful with that is that you have the outline already in place based on your tier.
Yes.
Your tier 1, here it is.
Here you go.
Here it is. And then now you can embed that into your organization and show how you're complying with your tier 1 or your said tier obligations. So I think that's really, really helpful. A lot of the conversations I had, which I was really surprised about, was how do you handle your safety management system now? How are you doing SMS? Well, we put together what we think, and then we say that we're doing it. I was like, okay. So the standardization of it is very, very important. But so if somebody were to go to your website, how are you all supporting that? So you have an organization that says that we think we're tier 1, we think we're tier 2. Where do we get this information, and what do we do?
Well, that's where we would direct them to their regional Transport Canada office, because ultimately it's Transport Canada that's going to decide. It's pretty clear on the regulations that where they fall.
Yeah.
It's not overly rocket science, but there is some more organizations that may be on the fence between two, and that's where we sort of drive them towards Transport Canada to get clarity, or to one of our consulting companies that we have as members to work with them. And okay, look at their operation. Okay, you classify as tier 3, and we'll have the conversation with Transport Canada for you, because there's different levels of in the association. There's the membership. There's different levels. Some, like Kingston and Thousand Islands, has had an SMS for years, and the only thing that Captain Steele's is going to need to do now is actually apply for, because the difference now is you have to get a certificate.
Okay.
So they'll actually approve. Before you had the SMS, and they might leaf through it, but now they approve it and they give you a certificate for it that has to be renewed. So we have operations like Kingston and Thousand Islands that have it perfectly and they've got everything done. All he has to do is get it submitted for approval. And we have other operations, don't know where to start.
Yeah.
Don't have So there's that whole scale in between. And some, I'd say the majority probably have an SMS, but in essence, what it's supposed to be isn't there, but they have it piecemeal.
Right, they have the information.
Yeah, they have the information there.
It's just not all together.
Exactly.
So what are the risks if you don't get the, go ahead.
It's part of the association which we had in our annual general meeting is that the association brought in Transport Canada liaison inspector who's in charge of the SMS program, and he did a presentation for our association and explained the certification process, explained the tier system, and had a PowerPoint presentation. And then that PowerPoint presentation goes on to our Google Drive, which our memberships have access to. So they have real-time documentation on our Google Drive of information that will help them, guide them towards the SMS. And then I believe on our Google Drive is the Gazette Part 1 volume on what Transport Canada wants to see in the marine safety management system. I believe it's on our Google Drive. I'm not sure, but it can be. So our membership have access to resources that the PCVA has set up for them.
Yeah, we try to direct them, and with that information, there's a Transport Canada contact, because we're not Transport Canada. So we'll try to direct them. We don't want to tell them something or guide them somewhere that's misleading.
No, you want to take them to the truth.
Exactly. They want to get it in writing from the officials.
Fantastic. So SMS is obviously the big conversation. It's the buzz for you all. It's the buzz down here in North America as well. And it's just kind of bopping around. And I think that in a year's time, we're going to see a huge jump towards having everybody standardized and having a system in place. What are some of the other things, I mean, talking about just like what the PCVA is doing, and you've grown your membership, you've doubled it. So what are some of the things you're looking forward to doing this year, and what resources are you committed to providing?
We're trying to, one of the biggest things we've talked about most recently at our last board meeting is the training program. We have a in-house training program for our members, which extremely cuts down the cost of MED training, marine emergency duties training, and we have one small captain license for small vessels that can be taught within the association as well. And we're looking at acquiring the unlimited simulated electronic navigation to allow all of our members basically have 80% of the training that their crew need in-house. There's some things, first aid, for example, we can't do. That's got to be done by a paramedic or Red Cross, whatever it may be. But as much as we can keep in-house or get in-house, and we absorb the cost as the association, we purchase it. And really all we do is we charge for a marine emergency duty course that could be 4 days, 5 days long at other institution. Could cost around $1,000 just for the course, plus their travel and accommodations. We don't charge them anything except for $25 for the certificate cost.
Oh my goodness.
So they'll have to pay their instructor. We have a list of instructors, so they pay the instructor, but some instructors will come to their location, or they'll do one in the region for many partners. Yeah. So it easily cuts their cost in half, which was a big hindrance to our members getting crew before, because they just couldn't pay thousands of dollars for a university student to go away for a week to school, work for a summer, and be gone.
Yeah.
So you've just spent $2,000 on a course that got you through a summer. Well, now you can do it in-house for much cheaper. So that's what we're trying to do, is bring that burden down and to make sure that they're properly trained.
Was that something that was coming up through some of your meetings as we need help with this?
There's the cost. The cost is a lot of vessels weren't being able to go. It's still an issue. We still have, and that's where we're looking at this electronic navigation course as well. We're still having members that can't get boats off the dock for lack of staff. So they're trying to, and they just can't afford to send them away, or it's not always an economical cost. It's the availability of these courses, because a lot of the institutions that provide the courses are focused on large vessels, offshore vessels, fishing fleet, et cetera. So we can't get our members in there. So we built our own training school for that.
So do you all off the top of your head have some numbers around what the passenger vessels in Canada, what does it bring to the country? Just financially, and the impact of what this means. I mean, I know it's kind of I'm wondering if it was something where it's like we play such a massive role in so many areas of the country and the impact that you have.
We'd have to, I mean, I could give Beth Potter a call. She's the president of Tourism Industry Association of Canada. She'd have those numbers. We don't necessarily keep the financial benefit. That's something we want to grow into, is working with our members as we get bigger to get that footprint, like what do we contribute? I know tourism is number 4, number 5 in our GDP for the country, and most popular jurisdictions would have a boat tour. You can't go to Toronto or Montreal, Halifax, Vancouver, even Saskatoon has hi Joan. Most of our major tourist areas have a waterborne activity, whether it's a large 500 passenger or a small canoe trip. So I don't know the exact numbers, but it's key. And
it's key.
One of the things we're changing to now is because we've worked with Transport Canada and we have a great relationship with them on the regulations, and pretty much everything's been dumped by Transport Canada now. There's really nothing new coming out in the years to come. So our advocacy push is switching away from the regulatory board to advocacy on promoting waterborne tourism. So working closer with TIAC, Destination Canada, who promotes the country, and local and regional tourism boards to push waterborne activity. Both countries were founded by water. Our ancestors came across the Atlantic or the Pacific, depending where, and the only people that were here prior to that was the indigenous people. And how did they get around? On water.
Yeah.
So we need to start pushing tourism and the tourism boards to focus on pushing tourists to travel on the water. It's the best way to see any jurisdiction.
It really is.
It's
it
gorgeous.
Really is. All right, so we've covered a lot of ground, and I know we're coming up on a time cap, and I'm really grateful for both of you, and I've jumped into your workday, Captain Steels. What else? I know that you have just your life experience and what you bring, but what are you really looking forward to contributing to being a part of the PCVA now?
I'm just looking to help the PCVA move forward in the what Kurt was just talking about is what does the PCVA mean, and what does that stamp on that logo on your vessel's website? What does that mean to the general public out there? It means that you're on a Transport Canada approved safe vessel, and it's been inspected, the crew's certified, and the crew has been well trained. And that's what I'm hoping to help foster in the PCVA this year, in the next couple of years, is when you go on a PCVA registered vessel, you can rest assured that you're on the safe, certified, and the crew's been properly trained.
And
vessel.
Insured.
And that's what I'm hoping to do.
And they're insured.
And it's fun. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
The beer's cold.
There you go. There you go. That is a common theme I keep seeing.
The popcorn's hot and the beer's cold.
So there's a lot coming, and we will obviously get this out to the world. And you have phenomenal members, everybody that I've interacted with since getting a chance to speak at the event back in November. Just the heart of the industry, and really care about what they're doing. And I know, spoken with Joan, who was interested in hearing this conversation. So when you're watching, if there is anything else that you would like to talk about, or questions about, please make sure you put a comment down, and we will obviously link the PCVA website. We will link and tag both of these individuals so you can access them very quickly. I'm really excited to be able to be a part of this conversation. I want to help as much as I can. Just provide resources. If it's not with me, that's fine. But if I can help you out and get you to a resource, just kind of what you all were saying with the website, I would love to do it. So anything else that you all want to throw out there before we wrap up this conversation?
No, I appreciate your effort. I appreciate what you're trying to do with our industry. I appreciate Vessel Vanguard and your expertise.
Well, we appreciate you, and we're grateful to have you.
Yeah, ditto on that, and thanks for Stephen. I mean, it's been years I've been trying to get him on the board, and finally I've succeeded. I've been trying to pull his knowledge in. Like I said, we have the same license, same experience. So I wanted someone else on that board to help us out, and thank you, Rhiannon. It's great to have members like you as well, supplier members that are there to push the information. If you get a business out of it, great. But it's just the end of the day, we're all looking to better the industry,
Yes.
and we're all going to win. The bigger we make the swimming pool, the safer we make it. We're all going to
safer.
win. Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
Very
and
nice.
hopefully you'll be able to keep up with his vacation schedule. So next
I know,
time,
exactly.
next time we're coming to you,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah. We just got to find him. He's like Waldo. We got to find him first.
All right, gentlemen.
Have a great day.
You as well. Take care.
Thanks, Stephen.
Bye.